maybe I'm picking up on someone hating me. No. It's nothing so far-fetched. It's much more immediate than that. If you are uncomfortable, it means that you are acting, behaving in some way at odds with the wonderfully divine way your being works, with the wonderfully perfect way that God's expression expresses. Let us continue.
The fear of healing arises in the end from an unwillingness to accept unequivocally that healing is necessary.
Now, one might say, well, gee whiz, if something's wrong, who wouldn't think that healing is necessary? But part of the problem is that some things you don't know are wrong. When you find yourself experiencing fear, you don't know that the experience of fear itself is wrong. Why? Because you say that what so-and-so out there is doing is causing me to be afraid justifiably. You see? You get up in the morning, and some mornings you say, God, do I have to get out of bed? Except that you're not really asking God. Because if you really asked God, you would get an answer that would inspire you out of bed. And when you ask that question, you don't realize that there's something wrong with asking that question, that correction is needed. You've had months of getting up in the morning and not experiencing anything superb. So what's the point this morning? You think you don't have an alternative. So you don't know that correction is needed. And when you don't know that correction is needed, you'll just have another day like the day before. If you don't know that there's another way to look at this, you'll just keep looking at it the way you've been looking at it. Continue.
What the physical eye sees is not corrective, nor can error be corrected by any device that can be seen physically.
Okay. This refers to the physical eye as opposed to spiritual sight, insight. It refers to what you see when you are not joined with the Father or the Holy Spirit or your guide or me before you look. What you call your physical eyes see only what you believe that you can see. Only what you have determined there is for you to see. And so, you look at a leaf or a table, and it doesn't occur to you that it's spirit. And that because it's the energy of spirit, the presence of God, it is light. And therefore there is light emanating from it. And there is light as the substance of it. And not only that, the light is living love. So it is loving you, as I have said before. Embracing you with an incredible, infinite, divine love. And so because you haven't thought that that might be the possibility, your physical eyes see only what you believe there is there to see. Now, I will tell you this, as spiritual sight, as the perception of things as they really are increases because you are choosing to look at everything with your guide or with the Father, desiring to experience their perspective. Your eyes, what you call your physical eyes, will begin to see spirit. And you will also begin to realize that your very eyeballs, what you have called your eyeballs, are not matter, but are spirit as well, and that they simply identify consciousness in one aspect. So when it says what the physical eye sees is not corrective, nor can error be corrected by any device that can be seen physically, it means that the physical eye, your eyeball, that's not connected to insight, but only your mutually agreed upon definitions and your memory, that what it sees cannot be corrective. Of course it can't be corrective. It's feeding back to you the past. It's feeding back to you memory. It's boxed in. It isn't open to see outside of the box determined by your very specific definitions that you've already given to everything. And of course, from that standpoint, from within the box, error cannot be corrected by any device that can be seen physically. But I'll tell you something else. When spiritual sight infills you with the experience of what a thing really is, meaning the substance of spirit, which is love, loving you, now everything you see is capable of being corrective, because love, loving you, corrects your misperception, not only about what you were looking at, but about yourself, because your lovability is inescapable to you. These are important distinctions here. Continue. We have a question.
The other day, we were talking about this, and it's about magic and the remedies for the body ills. And down here it says something like, give temporary belief, temporary given healing belief. This is because the last thing that can help the not right-minded.
I'm sorry. This is me, Paul. I'm having a hard time understanding what you're saying.
We're talking about this the other day. And at that point, it said, go, I'm just going to paraphrase it instead of reading it. It might make it clear.
Okay.
It just said, go ahead and take your vitamins. Go ahead and take your medicine. The last thing you need is to get really freaked out. But there's no correction in that. It's just we're not getting anything corrected by, we're just not freaking out more, that's all. I mean, at that point, I was thinking, well, you know, temporary belief that these things were healing me, but the only correction is going to come from facing the altar. From the only thing that it was telling us back then is if you really feel like you need to go to work or you really feel like you need to keep doing these things, just keep doing it so that you don't get more afraid.
Exactly. You do it to reduce fear. Because in the absence of fear, it's much easier to hear. It's much easier to turn toward the altar.
They are already in a fear-weakened state. Yeah.
Exactly. Somebody said, is it correcting something? The tablet you take or whatever doesn't actually cause correction to occur, but it might reduce your fear enough or the pain enough that you have peace of mind sufficient to then turn to something beyond your present sense of things and your present sense of limitations, to inquire of, to ask for help from. And that's the equivalent of turning toward the altar. And in that place of reduced fear, you can dare to stand in the void and let yourself be infilled by divine love, by what is there to come forth. And that will always be corrective. And what is corrective can never become uncorrected. What is corrected forever. Okay.
As long as you believe in what your physical sight tells you.
Okay. Here's a little bit of the double talk that can get you confused. As long as you believe in what your physical sight tells you, that's like saying, as I said, oh, my body isn't cooperating with me today, as though it could do something. Your physical sight can't tell you anything. You tell it what it's providing you with. You give the definitions to what your physical sight is presenting to you. So it should say, as long as you believe in what you are determining your physical sight is telling you, your attempts at correction will be misdirected. And that's magic. That's the definition of magic. Continue.
The real vision is obscured because you cannot endure to see your own defiled altar.
Yes, strong words. It's another way of saying that you don't want to dare to look squarely at the fact that you have chosen to look away from your essential self, your essential being, that you have chosen to dishonor it by turning your back upon it, so that you might employ your imagination to imagine things that God never dreamed of, and would never dream of. Not being able to endure seeing your own defiled altar means that you are unwilling to be honest with yourself, or you are unwilling to be honest with yourself easily, so that you might say, yes, I did this really foolish thing. I did this really impractical thing. I did this thing that I can't really do, and you know what? I believed that I did it. You don't want to take a look at and take responsibility for having done something unintelligent. Why? Because from your separated vantage point, the only appropriate result of doing that would be to have a penalty applied to you. And yet, it's only when you are willing to look squarely at the fact that you have done something, not something wrong, but that you have done something that you couldn't actually do, and you believed that you did something you couldn't actually do, it becomes clear to you that you never actually accomplished it, and therefore you're not guilty of anything, and what you thought happened isn't what happened at all. And what really did happen while you were having this distorted experience of what was really happening is now available for you to see for what it really was, for its incredible beauty, for its incredible perfection, because something real was going on the whole time, that you were bending out of shape so it looked like something else to you, but it never actually was altered in any way. And when the misperception and the memory of the misperception evaporates because you've been willing to look squarely at what you've done, or what you never could have actually done, then you become clear and you are relieved not only of the memory of the misperception, but you are relieved of being vulnerable to judgment, guilt, and penalty. Continue.
But since the altar has been defiled, your state becomes doubly dangerous unless it is perceived.
Yes, unless it is perceived. You think it's dangerous to own up to what you did, but it's doubly dangerous to believe that you actually did it. Do you see that?
I'm not.
Microphone. That's crazy.
I'm not quite clear. Let me put it this way. What are we afraid of that we actually did? What most people don't even know they did anything. They think they're. I mean.
That is correct.
Until I came to this, I didn't think. I thought everything that was in the world was the way things were, and that's it.
Yes, but no one's happy. No one is at peace. Everyone is suffering in one way or another.
Right.
Either in their relationships, or in their in their personal relationships, or in their perceptions of themselves, etc., etc. And they are suffering thinking this is life. And so they don't challenge the suffering.
And so do we actually think that part of it's our fault?
Of course.
So that's where what we think we're doing something wrong, and that's why we're getting this negative stuff coming back at us.
You see, no matter how insane you can behave, you cannot override your fundamental divine sanity with a capital S. It knows, / you know, that there was a point at which you said, Father, I'd rather do it myself. You all know that. You all know that you chose to try an experiment and to do things, quote, on your own, unquote. You can't forget that, even though you might not remember the specifics of it, because now you're preoccupied with defending yourself against the horrible effect of that decision. But you know what you did, because you're still lying on a grassy knoll in the middle of the kingdom of heaven, never having left. You see?
So when you say you know what you did, it's on a subconscious level.
Well, yeah, that's a nice cop-out. It's on a subconscious level.
I didn't say it that way.
No. What it is, it's held out of sight by you because you don't want to look at it. It's not on some unavailable lower level.
Well, we know it now because we come together every week and recognize, I mean, the book's telling us
Yes.
about it. And so we're going, oh, gosh, gee, wow.
Uh-huh.
But you know, I mean, you're saying
And what's all that's happening is that the book is helping you, gently helping you, to find ways to look at what you did, without eliciting emotion and fear and guilt. It's finessing you to be willing to look at what you have been adamantly holding out of sight. Because now that you're in this god-awful frame of mind, you're in a state of survival. And survival is defense against what can get you. And so you defend yourself against seeing what you did, because it's inevitable that judgment, guilt, and penalty will be forthcoming, because that's what your current frame of mind has decided is the way things are. So you are being finessed into taking a look at what you did and being able to say, oh, I did this, and it's not the way I was made to be, and therefore I couldn't actually have succeeded in doing it. Therefore, I am deluded. So here's a bit of the honesty that's hard to look at, but has to be looked at, or correction can't occur. So you recognize, even just intellectually, that you are deluded. If you are deluded about something. And once you say, okay, I conceive of the possibility that I, at this moment, might be deluded. In doing that, you're then put in a position of being able to be curious to say, what is it I'm deluded about? The minute you say, what is it that I'm deluded about, you're having to step outside of the box of mutually agreed upon definitions, and whether you know it or not, you've asked God a question. You've reached outside of what you currently believe you know.
Does a small child have a recognition of this as well? I mean, is it innate that we recognize this?
It is. It's utterly natural because it's inseparable from your capital S sanity. So, you see, the very way in which you've been asking your questions demonstrates the doubly dangerous aspect of not wanting to look at the way in which the altar was defiled, because you're holding the fact that you defiled it absolutely out of sight. And so you think no correction is called for. And so you do not seek what would be corrective. You see?
Yes.
It's the blind leading the blind, except that you are both of them. Okay.
Healing is an ability that developed after the separation, before which it was unnecessary. Like all aspects of the belief in space and time, it is temporary.
That simply means that once you wake up, the word healing will not exist anymore, because perfection will be the forever state of your conscious experience. So it will be unnecessary. Continue.
However, as long as time persists, healing is needed as a means of protection. This is because healing rests on charity, and charity is a way of perceiving the perfection of another, even if you cannot perceive it in yourself.
Oh boy. Now we're getting down to the meat and potatoes. And this is part of what you don't want to look at. This is part of the reason that you keep the fact that you've defiled the altar well hidden from yourself. Because when you bring it out into the open, it's going to call for something from you. Charity. Oh, you're going to have to give something that isn't deserved. Or you're going to have to give something that you shouldn't have to give, because your brother should have handled his or her life a little bit better so that she or he didn't need charity. And you can even fool yourself into believing that you're really being the Christ by refusing to give them charity and making them become self-responsible. Healing rests on charity. And charity is a way of perceiving the perfection of another, even if you cannot perceive it in yourself. You might have thought it would say that it was a way of perceiving the perfection of another, even if that other cannot perceive it in himself. But at the bottom line, it means that you've got to give something to another that you haven't been willing to give to yourself.